Hey guys, welcome to another Thursday edition of the Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. My name is Nick. Today I'm going to talk about 10 of my favorite albums that are going to be turning 50 in 2022. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you click on that link down below. Go check out the Vinyl Den Facebook group. It's just a cool place to continue the music conversation. There's also a couple other links down there. There's one for the Vinyl Den merch page. We got t-shirts and sweatshirts on there. There's also a link for the Vinyl Den Patreon page. If you want to support the show, it's always greatly appreciated. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give it the thumbs up, hit that subscribe button down below, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time we release new episodes. So the last couple of years, when the year starts, I'll kind of go through and see what albums are having big anniversaries that year. And, there's some huge albums that are celebrating 50th anniversaries in 2022. The first one, this is from February 1st, 1972, and that is the great album Harvest by Neil Young, one of my favorite albums of all time. There's not a bad track on this thing. This was actually, Harvest was, I think it was like 97 or 98 was the first, somewhere around there, 96, 97, 98. It was like at the end of my high school years, was the first time I bought a CD. And prior to that, I was primarily listening to cassettes and then some records thrown in. But this was the first album I ever bought on CD, and it just, ever since, probably somewhere around 93, 94 was the first time I'd ever heard it, and ever since then it's been one of my favorite albums. But that's one of the 10 that turned 50 this year. The next one was released March 10th, 1972, and it's an album that I don't think gets nearly enough love as it really deserves. It is probably one of the probably three best concept albums I think ever recorded, and that is Thick as a Brick by Jethro Tull. If you guys haven't checked this out, it's a great album. The crazy thing about this is it's all one song. The entire album is one track broken up into two pieces, obviously because it's on, when it was originally recorded, it was only released on vinyl, or it was made for or cut for vinyl, so it's in two halves, so it fit on each side. Other than that, it is all one track. And it's one that, I think this is Ian's favorite Jethro Tull album. And it's probably it's definitely my top 5 as far as Jethro Tull albums go. And just, between this and probably Pink Floyd's The Wall, I think are two of the best concept albums of the 70s. But, it's another great one. The next two are ones that, unfortunately, I don't own on vinyl. The first one, it was released May 12th, and this was, probably, I think it's widely regarded as the best Rolling Stones album, or at least one of the best, and that is Exile on Main Street. Stop Breaking Down is probably one of my favorite covers of all time. It's a great Robert Johnson song. It's probably the one standout track, at least for me, on Exile on Main Street. Just a great album from beginning to end. The other one is Elton John, Honky Chateau. That was released on May 19th. So both of those were in May, a week apart. Obviously Rocket Man is the big one on there. You got Honky Cat, and then I Think I'm Gonna Kill Myself, which is probably one of my favorite Elton John tracks. It's really one of those deeper cuts, but it's a fantastic track and on a great album. So, both of those 50th anniversaries. In June of 1972, you had 4 huge albums released. The first one was released June 1st, and that is the debut album by the Eagles. This is one that I just picked up. This is the Walmart exclusive that just came out, I think it was a month or two back. But the other copy I had was I think it was a repress from 73 or 74. But, one of the better debut albums of the 70s, in my opinion, and one that, I'm a pretty big Eagles fan. This is an album that I really didn't even give, probably the respect it deserves until maybe, probably 5 or 10 years ago when I finally listened to the entire album and not just a couple of the hits that were on it. But definitely a great one that came out that year. The other one, of course, I'm wearing a Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon shirt. This wasn't done intentionally, but the album that came out before Dark Side of the Moon, which is Obscured by Clouds. And the cool thing is about this period for Pink Floyd is from, there was a couple of albums before Dark Side of the Moon was released. Metal was a great album, and then you had Obscured by Clouds, and you could really listen to, but especially over those two albums, you could hear a progression from that kind of psychedelic kind of rock that they were doing in the late 60s, and you could hear that progression of what they were going to become with Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, Animals, The Wall, and what came after that. But this is one that I think a lot of people, even Pink Floyd fans, don't really give the respect to because, like I said, because of those 4 albums that came out after. And in my opinion, Metal, which is the album before this, is equally as good as those next 4 albums. But it's one that, Obscured by Clouds, if you haven't listened to it in a while, it's definitely worth a spin. So like I said, Eagles' debut album was released June 1st. June 2nd was Obscured by Clouds. So June 6th was The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and The Spiders from Mars. I always had to look at the title of that because I always forget the And Spiders from Mars part. But it's an album that, I really think it's probably some of David Bowie's best work overall. And it's really just full of some great David Bowie tracks, and especially some deeper ones too. But Moon Age Daydream is one of my favorite ones on there. It Ain't Easy, Star, Lady Stardust, Ziggy Stardust, of course. Just a great track in and of itself. But definitely some classic David Bowie. And then the last one I got for June, I couldn't find out what day this was released. So I guess if you know, drop me a comment down below, because all I could see was the release date of the single when it came out, but not the actual album. But I know it was released in June of 1972, and that's School Is Out by Alice Cooper. The single for School Is Out was released in April that year, but a couple months later, the album came out. And ever since I was a kid, this has definitely been one of my favorite Alice Cooper albums, and really one of my favorite albums overall. It's got, of course, School Is Out is a great track on here. Alma Mater, Blue Turk, which is probably my favorite Alice Cooper track over his entire career. Of course, Gutter Cats vs. Jets is a great track. My Stars, Looney Tune. It's just a great album from beginning to end. This is the reissue from a couple of years ago. I have an older pressing of it. I think it was original pressing, but it's missing the panties. I did get the reissue that came out, was it earlier this year? That I think Friday Music did. They actually had the cutouts and the panties and everything. This is just there's no cutout. The desk doesn't fold out or anything with this one. But it's a great album, and the packaging makes it even better. I think, at least from the original packaging. But it's a cool design and a great album. The last 2 I got, of course, is one album that I'm sure everyone thinks is probably the best album from 1972, and one that I think it doesn't get the love that it kind of should get, as being a great album. But the first one, this is the one that, like I said, everyone's going to think of, and that's Black Sabbath Volume 4. I go back and forth on what is the better Black Sabbath album. Is it Paranoid? Is it Volume 4? I think it really kind of depends on the mood I'm in, but of course this has got Wheels of Confusion, which is a fantastic song, Changes, Snowblind, Laguna Sunrise, which I had a snake back in the late 90s, early 2000s named Laguna that I got from, of course, Laguna Sunrise. But it's a great album, one that I listen to pretty regularly. And then this last one. This is the number 10, and it's one that, like I said, I don't think gets nearly the love it deserves. I don't see it posted a whole lot on social media, and that is Talking Book by Stevie Wonder. I think it's probably one of the best albums of the 70s. Stevie Wonder, I've long regarded as one of the greatest musicians in music history. The guy plays just about everything and records almost every instrument on his albums himself, and has for a long time, at least in his 70s albums at least. But it's one that I picked up. I picked this up. This is a used copy I picked up a couple of years back for pretty cheap, and it it's probably one of my most played albums just because it is such a great album. Of course, everyone knows this album for Superstition, but there's a bunch of other great tracks on here. It starts out with one of my favorite Stevie Wonder tracks, You Are the Sunshine of My Life. Maybe Your Baby is another great track. I believe is the ending track. At least I think it's the ending track on here. Yeah. And like I said, from beginning to end, it is a great album. I think one of the cool things about this is it's the only album I've ever known of. I don't know if I can get it in the light or not. You can see it, but it's actually the title the title, the top and bottom have Braille on there. So I think that's kind of cool. And it just, like I said, it's an album that I go to pretty regularly, and it's just a fantastic album. Well, that's all I got for you today, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. Those are my 10 favorite albums, or some of my favorites that are turning 50 this year. Drop me a comment down below. Let me know what some of yours are, because I know there's a bunch on this list I could have talked about that, I could have filled up a whole nother episode doing. But I don't know. Those are at least the 10, the first 10 that I kind of thought of for their turning 50 this year, 2022. Let me know what you guys think. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time we release new episodes. Well, that's all I got. Until next time, keep on spinning. Peace.